Good morning. It is September 11th, 2020. I'm Pastor Thor Ramsey with Center Church, and this is Gospel for Five, where we take 5 minutes out of our day and focus on the gospel and the one who saved our souls. Today is September 11th, so we want to take some time today and really pay tribute, in one sense, to those who lost their lives on September 11th so many years ago during the tragedy when the terrorists attacked the Twin Towers, and over 5,000 Americans lost their lives, including first responders. This is generally a weekend, and I hope it's still that way, when you can find different stories, different documentaries, and I find the documentaries are the most effective, of people telling the stories of loved ones who are saying goodbye trapped in the Twin Towers, of first responders who saved them, and the stories are amazing. I haven't come across a movie that has captured any of this, because you can't capture that kind of poignancy. Poignancy is what I was trying to say. You can't capture that kind of poignancy in fiction. Now, I'm not saying movies can't be poignant, but the reality of it, the reality of hearing these stories, and I'm not thinking of any story in particular, but I know that they always remind me of John chapter 15, verse 13, that says, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends." And there is such a demonstration of the gospel of Jesus Christ in the midst of that tragedy. And when you think about human sin, there is no greater tragedy than human beings given the blessed gift of life by God and then forfeiting that life, forfeiting eternal life for eternal death to become their own limited, small gods. It is a great tragedy, the greatest tragedy in the history of the human race. So you have this fallen world that the Twin Towers demonstrate, but in the midst of that fallen world, you have these heroic figures that really point to the greatest heroic figure in the history of the world, Jesus Christ. I'm sure most of you are familiar with in the rubble of the aftermath of 9/11, those beams that really looked like the cross of Calvary. And of course, a lot of people would write that off, but I don't think so, because when you hear their stories, this type of story dominated, of people sacrificing their lives so that others could be saved. So I hope this weekend that you come across a documentary or some sort of program that highlights some of these heroic people that we can look to, and even in the common grace of God's humanity, we see the beauty of Christ himself. We see this one. "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you, as Jesus Christ has loved us. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down a life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know his master, what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all that I have heard from my Father I have made known to you." The God of the universe has made known to us who gave the greatest sacrifice to save lives in the history of the world, and that is Jesus Christ. And that's why in the tragedy of 9/11, in the tragedy of human fallenness, we can find this glaring hope in the midst of that darkness. Now, what has God said to you today? And what do you